Hi, I'm Brent Conrad from Vivicon Productions, welcoming you to our video focusing on the Video Toaster from NewTek Incorporated. The introduction of this long-awaited computer board for the Amiga is more than a benchmark in the video industry. It's really a milestone of new capabilities available for the first time to everyday video producers like you and me. During this video, we're going to take a look at the equipment requirements needed to get the most out of your toaster. We'll show you some basic operating procedures, and we'll explore the different transition effects and capabilities of the toaster. First, let's take a look at the basic installation and equipment requirements for using a toaster. First, you'll need an Amiga 2000 or 2500 with a hard drive to be the host for the toaster. After you have the cover removed, you must remove the power supply after taking out a few Phillips screws. You'll need to lay the power supply off to the side so that you have room to put the toaster into place. The toaster will plug right into the video slot of the Amiga, and to do that you just merely line up the slots and press firmly down until you feel the toaster slip right into place. The BNC connectors will protrude out the back, and we'll want to stick on the label that will tell us what each of those BNC connectors does after that. If you're running low on RAM, this is a good time to stock up. You'll need 5 meg to get the paint and animation programs working, and 7 meg is recommended for using the full capabilities of all programs. Installing the software for the toaster is a very easy process. It's just a matter of starting with the first disk and deciding whether you want the computer to auto boot into the toaster or whether you want to boot the toaster program from Workbench. The idea there being if you boot from Workbench, you can use other Amiga programs with the toaster. If you want to use Pro Video Post, you have to open the Amiga Workbench, open a shell window and leave it open, then boot the toaster, then exit from the toaster preferences, then come back and boot up the Pro Video Post disk. At this point, Broadcast Titler is not compatible with the toaster, but they're working on it. The good news is the toaster's built-in character generator is very crisp with its 24-bit resolution. The letters are much more brighter and distinctive than letters that we've seen in the past from other Amiga programs. For the sake of this tutorial tape, I have routed the video output from the Amiga computer through a time-based corrector so that I can show you a direct video output of the video toaster switcher screen. It actually appears in color on your RGB monitor. In this case, we're going to have to go with black and white. The best way to use the toaster is with 3 monitors. It allows you to use the RGB monitor as a display for the video toaster switcher screen. You have then your program monitor for your program output or the video signal you're actually recording. And then you have your preview monitor, which is the shot that is lined up to take next, or the one that it's in waiting to take. If you want to use the full capabilities of your toaster's A/B roll transitional effects, you need 2 time-based correctors. This model, the Show Me Cheetah, has been discontinued from the market. Later we'll show you how to use a Panasonic AVE5 to sync up the system. This is an iDen IVT7, which works well because of its black burst output and excellent freeze frame. Almost any full-frame time-based corrector will work with a toaster. This includes TBC-equipped VCRs and plug-in card-type TBCs. Some toaster-friendly gear that doesn't claim to have time-based correctors but which really will work with the toaster include the Sony EVO 9700. It has enough tape-stabilizing devices that make its output available for use with the toaster. Also, the Panasonic AVE5, even though the company doesn't claim that it has internal TBCs, it will synchronize 2 signals very nicely for use with the toaster. A little later on, we'll show you exactly how to wire up an AVE5. Toaster-unfriendly gear that claims to have time-based correctors that really won't work with the toaster include the Panasonic AG1970 and the Panasonic PV4990. Now keep in mind, while these VCRs won't work by themselves with the toaster, just adding another TBC or plug-in card will allow them to be compatible. Right now let's take you back to the switcher screen, which is the main control panel of the switcher itself. The first area I want to touch on is the preference button. By clicking on this button, we go to kind of a sub-screen, which give us some additional choices we can make about how to use the toaster. I'll go into this in detail a little bit later. Back to the main screen, we see the toaster application buttons. Now these 4 buttons provide links to the other toaster programs like Chroma FX, Toaster Paint, the character generator, and Lightwave 3D. The effects bank up in this area controls the 32 images that represent the transitions that we make down on the switcher bus. Now, by switching these bank selection buttons, we go into 32 different possible transitions we can have between any 2 images. And going right down the line, we see we have many possible choices for doing transitions on the toaster. Now the switcher bus is laid out very much like the type of switcher you would see in a television station. We have the overlay bus up in this area, we have the program bus, and the preview bus. These 3 switcher buses work together to provide the special effects transitions among the different video sources and effects that we choose up in this area. The luminance key control panel allows you to selectively cut holes in the picture and replace them with another video source. The T-bar is used to manually control transition effects, like I'm showing you now, just as if you were pulling down a lever. The keyboard control panel is just another way of executing these effects. When we push auto, they are automatically pulled in with the T-bar, either in a slow, medium, or fast speed. The take button performs an instantaneous switch between video sources, and the freeze button frame grabs live video. Now let's start to take a look at these capabilities in depth. Let's go over here to the Preferences button, and click on the left mouse button and go into the Preferences screen to determine what these different elements do for us. In this area we have the Color, Termination, and GPI Trigger Control panel. This panel concerns the toaster switcher and your video setup. For example, here's where you choose the background colors that you can access from the switcher screen. For example, now it's in black. When we jump out to the switcher screen, we can access black whenever we have this chosen as a background. If we go back and switch this to white, whenever we go to the background, it'll be white, and so on and so forth. This area is where we provide the different edges and the colors that we choose for different transitions. For example, whenever we access one of the bordered transitions that allow for color on the edge, for like this one for example, it will have, as you can see, an edge to it, and the edge color of course is determined by the color that we choose in this area. Another area of the preference screen is the 75 ohm termination switch bus. The only time that you would use this is a case where, let's say through input 1, you would have a television monitor in which the video signal was looped through before coming into input 1. This would lessen the signal strength, and therefore by unterminating input 1, we would boost that signal strength to make it equal brightness with the other 3 inputs that are coming directly into the toaster. So only use these in a case where we need to boost the signal over a long cable run or from looping it through another piece of equipment. Over here we have the GPI control, which allows the toaster to be able to take a command from an edit controller to make it switch right when it's told to during an edit. This is merely a way that we can adjust the timing to happen earlier or later during the edit. Down in this area we have the project storage area. This is where we can store away things that we were working on if we were in the middle of something and had to turn the computer off. For example, all of the settings in the Paint program that you might have been working in, all of the information you had typed in the character generator can be saved in a project. And in order to store something away, you just click on the left mouse button on the entry area, pull down on the left mouse button on your number panel and go to the next available number. Click the left mouse button once again and type in what it is you want to say about the project you're saving. For example, I like to save some of my preferred fonts and in the character generator, and also I've wiped out the tutorials in the character generator in this area. That way I can call up my favorite fonts and bring them into the program at will. Over in this area is where we call back a book. A book is when you just bring back what was in the character generator that you stored away in the project. So that's just a little bit of a shortcut if you don't need all the other settings that were in the Paint program at the time. Of course, you can choose where to store these away, and obviously if you want to turn your computer off and pick it up later, you need to put it into the hard drive area down here. The more things you store away on your hard drive, the less space you have left. As you can see, I have only 3 frames left in the hard drive because I stored a lot of still frame images away, and each one of those images takes up just about 1 megabyte in hard drive space. And in RAM, I still have some space left there, and of course in the floppy drive, there's none available. Down in this area, we have the motion removal control buttons. To save 2 fields of something, you click down on your left mouse button here, and it'll take the motion away, leaving 2 fields available. And down here we have 1 field. The quality is a little less on this one, but sometimes you may have to resort to this if you have saved a frame with a lot of movement involved in it. This is just the choice area here where we choose either 2 monitors or 3 monitors that you're working with. And over here we have exit and OK. OK just takes us back to the switcher screen, and exit will take us to the Genlock area where we can use other programs with the toaster. Another way to get into the Genlock area is to hit OK to go back to the switcher screen, then double-click the Control key, then the Alt key on your keyboard. This will take you back to the Workbench screen. Back at the Workbench screen, you can see this window is still opened up from when we first entered the toaster. And again, this is the reason why it's best to manually boot the toaster system in case you want to go back and use the toaster Genlock. We'll double-click on that, and there we have the Genlock switcher screen. To activate these buttons, we need to go up and hit your right mouse button and drag down to Caps Lock. What that does is enables these buttons to be used from the keyboard itself. So if we hit F1, it enables us to use the Genlock feature using the right mouse button and dragging down. That gives us some dissolve functions, and we can use other programs like Deluxe Paint 4 and so on with the toaster. Now let's go back to the switcher screen. After hitting Control and Alt twice each, that'll transfer us back here. Let's talk about the program, the overlay, and preview bus. The program bus is really your main output. That's what determines what signal goes to your record VCR or straight out on the air if you're hooked up in a live situation. The preview bus is the shot that you have lined up to go to next. For example, in the frame buffer, I have the color bars in there that are booted up automatically when you first go into the toaster. The overlay bus is used whenever you have a key, an internal key or external key, either from the character generator or some other source that you want to overlay onto the program bus. We'll go into the character generator and key functions a little bit later. Right now, let's take a look at what you have to do in order to grab a frame with the freeze button, store the frame away into the frame store area, and then retrieve it again for later use. To get ready to freeze a frame, first initiate the dissolve button. Then we want to unfreeze the button, make sure it's deactivated. Next we'll go to the frame buffer area, make sure they are activated down in the preview bus. And then we'll want to go to the area where we want to bring in that video. In this case, we have a videotape rolling in input 1. I want to get a shot of this little girl coming down the aisle. Here's where it's nice if you have a time-based corrector with freeze frame. I have a little movement there, so I can just hit field freeze and clean that up, and we're ready to take that into the frame buffer. Now, all we need to do now is click freeze, and we have that image captured in the frame buffer area. If we didn't have a time-based corrector with freeze capability on it, Here's what would happen if we capture that image just straight into the frame buffer, just punching freeze. The toaster captures 8 fields with its freeze frame function, so you have to go through a motion removal process. And to do that, you go into the preferences area, and you can eliminate the motion by either using the 2-field motion removal function or the single field, depending on how much movement you have to get rid of. You may have to experiment there, but you'll get better quality saving 2 fields. After we capture that image and it's nice and still, we can go ahead and store it away in the frame store area. Now, to do that, all we need to do is click once on this button, hold the left mouse button down till you come to an open page, and we want to type in a very simple note to let us know what this is. I'll just put in FLGL, which stands for Flower Girl in my case, hit return, and now we can go ahead and double click on the frame store button, and what we'll do is save 4 fields because that'll give us the best quality for later. Now the screen will flash around for almost a minute until it gets this scene fully saved. The nice thing is we can retrieve this in about 3 seconds by hitting the frame store retrieval button, dragging down to our number and double clicking on that button. Now that we have frame storage down pat, I want to take a look at one of the toaster's most versatile features, its ability to perform luminance keying. This is the process of cutting a hole in a video signal and replacing it with another source of video. The luminance key effect area of the switcher screen is located right here, the scissors signifying the cutting out of one image and placing in of another. The part of the video image that is cut and replaced depends on its luminance value or brightness. The toaster provides you with the ability to key over the light or dark parts of the image and allows you to set the exact level of the key using the clip level indicator. To set that key level, we merely hold down the left mouse button and drag, and I'll demonstrate this key effect now. We can either key in the light areas first by hitting the white scissors, or we can double click and go into the dark scissors and key the dark areas in first. Let's start with the dark area, figure out which input we want to overlay upon. I'll choose 1 where our live camera is coming in right now, and all I have to do now is drag on my left mouse button down until I reach the key level that I want to achieve. Notice the dark areas are disappearing first, and then the white areas disappearing last. And just the opposite is true whenever we key on the white scissors, overlay on 1 once again. The white areas in the picture will key out first, followed by the dark areas. We can also reverse this procedure by, instead of overlaying onto 1, I can overlay onto 2 and bring my program in on 1, and therefore we can key the switcher screen in a different way. And with the luminance keyer set to black, the screen looks like this, superimposed. Next, I want to go into the available digital and analog transition effects located in the toaster. We have 4 different banks of effects for a total of 128 different effects available to us. I'm going to start right with the first one and go straight through and demonstrate each effect, and we'll stop and talk about several of them along the way. I'm going to toggle between the video toaster logo and color bars, which are loaded into the frame buffers at this time. Right now we're at the halfway point of demonstrating all of the toaster's transitional effects. At this time I want to go into video tape sources to show you that these effects are in fact available with time-based corrected VTR inputs. That pretty much takes us through all of the toaster's digital and analog effects. One thing that NewTek is advertising is that the toaster is capable of doing shrinks and zooms. Well, to a certain extent this is true, except the quality of these shrinks and zooms is something we should take a close look at. Whether they're really usable in this form, I don't know. Anything less than a full shrink or zoom seems to have a lot of small blocky squares that make up the picture. So really as a broadcast usable effect, I don't think the shrinks and zooms are really up to par. But as transitions, they go by in such a hurry that you don't really notice that. So it's just really in how you use them. If you'll notice when you initiate a digital effect, there's a slight jump right before the picture starts to go into its effect. This has to do with the delay that happens between the program and preview channels, and I'll illustrate this by showing you what happens whenever I divide the screen in half on a wipe. You'll notice that After going into this effect, everything is normal, but after accessing a digital effect and then coming back to the split screen effect, there'll be a slight delay that's occurring between the two input channels. See that? So what can happen is when this compounds itself over several generations, you can have a lip sync problem developing. So this is something to keep in mind whenever editing with the toaster. To illustrate this phenomenon a little further, I've taken this down another generation to show you what can happen, and then to see what can happen on an additional generation, you can watch up in the monitor. I'm just going to clap my hands. You'll notice a slight time delay. So pretty soon your lip sync starts to go out. I would say a maximum of 2 generations is about all you could go through the toaster on certain digital effects. And we're back to first generation once again, out of that twilight zone of second generation through digital effect. I don't want to alarm you about the delay problem. You should just be aware of it and make sure that you don't use a digital effect before the effect you're currently going to be using whenever lip sync is going to be presenting a problem. I want to talk a little bit now about some of the programs or slices that are in the toaster. First of all, the 3D program is going to be upgraded again by new tech, and it probably will be available as a separate program altogether from the original toaster system. It'll still come with a basic 3D package though. The paint program we're going to demonstrate for you a little bit later, and some of the things you can do with that. Also, we'll see what you can do with a color generating engine known as Chroma FX. And we'll get into that a little later. The program I want to talk a little bit about now is the character generator program, which when we click on twice will load the program into RAM, and then one more click will take us right into the character generator program. NewTek has provided some pre-made screens for us to experiment with, and we can access those by hitting the plus and the minus figures over on the keypad, and we can flip right up through them. I have already altered one to have my name on it, and I want to show you how easy it is to bring this onto the screen. And I'll hit escape, go back to the toaster screen, and I'll load this program, this page in by hitting character generator twice. That brings the page into the ready through the frame buffer, and I'm ready to overlay that image onto the screen now. And there it is in full 24-bit resolution. I want to show you how easy it is to turn that into a digital effect. We can just activate one of the effects, make sure that our luminance key is switched on to the black effect, then bring up the screen that we want to overlay, and then right after that what I'll do is just bring it in manually with the T-bar and just drag it right on in. Or I could do it with auto take for a nice smooth effect. I can access any of the pages in the character generator just by holding my left mouse button and dragging down through the different pages, and it will give you the first letter or word that is on that page and allow you to access it by punching in character generator. It will then load that page in just a few seconds, and we now have that page loaded into the frame buffer and can easily access that. We can bring it in the form of a digital effect, with a key or without a key. I should mention here that these credit card logos have been done away with in versions 2.0 and newer of the toaster software. There's a real nice crawl available too through the character generator program, and one thing they don't make that clear in the manual is how to position that crawl anywhere on the screen. According to the manual, you can crawl over across the middle and across the bottom, but now let's go into how we can move that anywhere on the screen. All you do is hit shift and use your cursor arrows to bring the line down to the bottom of the page where you want it. There you have it. That speed is adjustable, and there you have it. There are some really great fonts in the toaster that have to be loaded before you have access to them. To get there, we hit Alt and F2, which will show us the available fonts. Over on the left side here, we can scan down through those. Over on the right are the fonts that are currently loaded in the book. They're the only ones we have access to unless we go ahead and load some of these other ones over into it. And some of the great ones would include the Chroma fonts. They're the ones that have lots of color and dimension to them. And when we land on the font that we want, we'll just hit F1, and that'll load that font over into the usable side, into the current book. I'm going to load a couple of these Chroma fonts over because they're really worth taking a look at. And there's some examples of some of those fonts from the Toaster Character Generator. The character generator has just a few basic operating modes. The way we access them is to first hit F1, then we choose whether we want F3, which is superimposed text over a page. F4 is text with accompanying background. F5 is a scroll, and F6 is the crawl. Let's take a look at that scroll right now, which is one of the smoothest in the business. After hitting F5, we get into the scroll mode, and now we're able to choose, for instance, the speed of the scroll by hitting F9. You'll notice there's a fuel gauge over there, it looks like. That's actually a speed gauge, and we can choose slow, medium, a little faster, and fast. So let's take it to the slow medium speed there. We can then type in what we want to scroll. F2 allows us to switch through the different fonts that we have loaded into the program side of the switcher font display. There's some other parameters we can get into, like F3 gives us different colors, F6 gives us different edges. Now we can go back to the control panel and call up the page that we want. I know my first two letters are scroll by, and I want my background to be black, and all I have to do is punch up my CG option. That activates the overlay, and all I have to do is click overlay and I'll get my scroll to happen. I've switched it to the slowest speed that it'll scroll at. As you can see, it's a very smooth scroll. You can mix different font styles in there too. Now let's go back to the switcher screen and take a look at another slice or program within the toaster known as Chroma FX. This slice allows us to do color processing in a number of different ways. And the easiest way to use this program is to click through the 31 different preset effects that you can easily call up. We're going to start with posterize. I can switch either by using these buttons on the screen, or by using the plus or minus figures over on the keypad, or by calling them up numerically on the keypad. All we have to do is get the effect that we want in the box, hit the clapboard, and in about 30 seconds the effect will render and allow us to drag the T-bar down, which will increase the intensity of the effect as we go towards the bottom of the bar. The other areas within Chroma FX are for customizing individual effects or coming up with new ones on your own. It takes some time and some experimentation, but the rewards of that can be very nice. Right now I'm going to take you through all of the preset effects, starting with posterize, and I'll cut out the rendering time so that we can quickly flip through these. I've left my input switch to input 3 on the bus so that I can access the effects on that one. So we are starting with posterize. And black and white posterize. Notice the intensity of the effect increases as we drag the bar down. This is red poster. This is solarize. Cycle Solar. This one's called Nuke Solar. Positive negative cycle. Fade to negative. This is chrome. This is red chrome. Yellow light. Red mids. Blue darks. Red, green, blue. Poster solar. Snow mids. Snow lights. Snow darks. Snow cycle. Snow bands. Strip cycle. Stripe filter. Zebra stripe. Color bands. Rainbow stripe. Rainbow bands. Soft rainbow. Color filter. Sunset filter. Hue filter. Contrast. And brightness is the last of the pre-made Chroma FX. The animation program, or slice in the toaster, known as Lightwave Modeler and Lightwave 3D, requires the use of a single frame controller in order to get the animation effects out of it. The VLAN brand edit controller is often mentioned as a good one for doing animation effects with this program. The paint program slice of the toaster, like the animation program and character generator program, renders in 24-bit resolution, which is an improvement over other Amiga paint programs and operates in a similar manner as Deluxe Paint 3. Now here's an update concerning the use of a Panasonic AVE5 mixer to synchronize two separate incoming signals for use with the toaster. I have found that when using the YC connectors on the AVE5, I can see virtually zero picture degradation when passing a signal through. In other words, it's almost completely transparent. There are no unwanted artifacts that are introduced into the picture by the AVE5. When using the composite inputs and outputs, the resolution is limited to 300 lines, so the picture appears just a bit softer than when using the YC connectors, which pass 380 lines. The AVE5 can be used to synchronize two signals to go into the NewTek Video Toaster. Just use the preview output, which is a composite signal, and put it into input 1 of the toaster. Then you can use the record video out 2, either from the YC connector or from the composite connector, and go into input 2 of the toaster. Of course, if you're coming out of the YC connector, you'll need to have it transcoded into composite to go into the toaster. But you will gain the added advantage of the 380 lines of resolution compared to the 300 lines of the composite. Then activate Record Video Out B. Also, in bus A, make sure source 1 is activated and source 2 is activated on bus B with the slider in the A position. Now we're ready to start toasting with those synchronized signals that are passing through the AVE5. As you can see, you have true two-channel AB roll capabilities with the marriage of the AV5 and the toaster. I have done comparisons using the AVE5 through the toaster and a time-based corrector like the personal TBC. When running composite signals through this, I have found virtually no difference between the time-based corrector and the AVE5 as far as quality is concerned. But at the same time, when we introduce a tape with severe time-based error problems and run it through the AVE5, it just can't handle it. When we run it through the personal TBC, it does do a full correction on the image. What that tells us is the Panasonic, while having fine sync regeneration qualities and synchronization capabilities, is not a true time-based corrector. Now let's take a look at the Toaster 2.0 updates that come out with the revision of the original toaster program. The first thing you'll notice about the new 2.0 program is that the switcher screen has been updated to include several more banks worth of digital effects. The old Toaster 1.0 program is still available by going back into the project and bringing up the default 1.0 program. By loading that, you will get the original Toaster 1.0 program back in case you want to refer back to any of the old effects. Probably the biggest changes for Toaster 2.0 in the area of digital effects are the new animated effects. Let's take a look at some of those right now and discuss the requirements to really get these to work right. Now on the cube effect that you just saw there, to get that to run to full speed, you need at least a 25 megahertz accelerator. Without it, it'll run at the slowest speed, like this. The peel flyaway is another example of a fairly memory-intensive effect. Let's look at what it looks like at the fastest speed. And again, how it'll run on the slow speed if you have less than a 25 megahertz board in your Amiga computer. The hemisphere effect is another really outstanding digital motion effect. Let's look at it at the fast speed first. And here it is at the slow speed. Here's a unique one called Mr. Clean. These effects, along with the other animated wipe effects, will work at the regular speed, even in a standard stock Amiga 2000 HD equipped with a toaster. The organic effects also work fine with the stock Amiga. Now let's look at another area of improvement that came with Toaster 2.0, and that's in the area of combining the character generator with the paint program in order to do character generation on a still frame. Now let's do an example of this and go into the character generator. I've prepared a page that I would like to superimpose over top of a still frame store, one that's already stored away on the hard drive. The image I'm talking about is Starfield. All I have to do is load that from out of the hard drive in the frame store area into my frame buffer, and it's now in DV2. And that's the image that I want to superimpose my character generation on, so I can store that whole image away as a frame. Right now I'm going to a live camera shot of the RGB monitor so I can show you what happens when we go into the paint program. What we want to do is hit the right mouse button and go up into Preferences, where we can grab DV2. That's the image that we want to get, that Starfield image that we left in the frame buffer. So get down to grab DV2 and hit 4 frames. We want to grab 4 fields rather of that image so that we have a nice clear image of it in the paint program. Now this will take a few seconds to load that frame into the paint program. And here it is going down into the program. Here's where a 25 megahertz board really does come in handy as well to quickly load that into the paint program. And now that it's there, we really just want to exit back out to the switcher, go into the character generator once again, And here's where the combining process really takes place. You'll want to hit the Alt button, and notice over on F3 it switches to kind of a paint brush there over an A. Well, just hit F3, and now you'll want to hit F2. And what that little insignia means that you will be bringing in a paint background from the paint program. So go ahead and return to update the page. And now, whenever we render this page out, it will have the background in from the paint program. So let's give it a try and see what it looks like. Hit escape and go back to the switcher screen, and go ahead and locate that page in the character generator area. We know the first word was combining, so we'll call that up. And after a short wait, there we have the combined image with the character generation and the background married together. We're able to do any of the toaster effects and keep these images combined. Here's an example of how we use the combined effects of the paint program and the character generator. We tuck this away in a frame store then, and we're able to call back this scene and use it anytime we needed it during the editing of the production. And with the letters kind of glued to the background, you don't have to worry about going through the character generator each time to mix the letters with the scene. Now I'd like to show you some examples of how we used Toaster 2.0 along with the frame store capabilities of the program during this industrial video. Welcome to the world of Smith Transport. The Smith family's trucking business had its humble beginnings in this country setting in Roaring Spring, Pennsylvania nearly 50 years ago. In 1983, Smith Transport was founded and soon moved to this location in 1986, where it's grown into one of the most elite transport carriers in the nation. As you can see, we rely heavily there on still frame images, and all we're doing is just going back and forth between our still frame captured in the TBC and the frame buffer, which is located, of course, in DV1 and DV2 of the switcher. So by bouncing back and forth between these inputs, we can really mimic A/B roll production very easily within the studio. Here again, still frame, and the other still frame comes in through the buffer. In this case, we brought in the character generation over top of that frame, and then we'll lose the characters and send that picture out into another still frame that we have loaded, and then that goes to black. Let me illustrate this for you within the context of the switcher screen. Now, right now we have, down in DV2, we have loaded this image of the space scene that we saw before, and I merely grabbed that right off of a stock footage tape that I got, which had a fairly realistic looking space scene. Now over here in input 1, I have that still frame of the truck here. That's just merely captured in the freeze frame of my time-based corrector, my IVT7. So with these two images stored here, we can bounce back and forth between the two using any of the toaster transitions. So you can make your edit then anywhere, during the still frame, and choose one of the different toaster images, and just, for example, here we have the tear page, and let's bounce this back and forth and see what that looks like. So it's really a built-in A/B roll studio when used this way. Of course, you can combine this with full motion video the same way and move between still frames and motion video. Now let's discuss a piece of equipment called the JVC JSX 300 to show you that we can use it to transcode composite images to YC for sharper pictures through its automatic YC separator. As we know, the toaster is a composite-only piece of equipment, so if you're using Super VHS or High 8, it is nice to be able to transcode to YC for separated chroma and luminance to get a slightly sharper image. This shot was taken with a High 8 Sony TR101. I'm going to dissolve now to a shot taken with the 3-chip Ikegami on Super VHS and show you now the difference between YC and composite. Now in my monitor, looking at this second generation, I can see a difference. I'll switch back to YC again. There it is, a little sharper image. Now at the third generation on your VHS copy, it may not show up that much, but any way we can gain resolution will usually help in the end product as far as quality goes. One thing about the JVC separator, it does cause a little bit of dot crawl around the edges, as you can see on these color bars. This will hold true with most toaster graphics, including character generation. Now when I switch back to composite, you can see it cleans up the edges by bypassing the JSX 300. One device out called the YC Plus kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It transcodes composite to YC for extra sharpness, while giving you anti-aliasing characteristics which take away the dot crawl around the edges of highly contrasted colors and graphics. Tests have shown that this product works very well, and it's available from Smith Audio Visual, which is located in Topeka, Kansas, which is also the hometown of the video toaster at New Tech. Right now I'd like to show you some of the improved paint capabilities in the toaster by going over an exercise with you. I've loaded a couple of images from the hard drive in the frame store area, and one of those images is of the JVC JX300 YC composite combiner, and also I loaded a shot of our sidewalk outside, and I'm going to use this for a background. This is also going to demonstrate how you can use practically any type of surface as a background in the paint program, and then do character generation over it while combining images. So let's go ahead and enter the paint program right now. Once we get into that, hold the right mouse button down and look for Picture. There we want to load frame. What this will show us is all of the different frames that are available in the frame store area of the toaster. And first thing we want to do is load that one image of concrete up in this area. And if you have an accelerated Amiga, this will load in faster for you. For example, I'm using a 25 megahertz board, which really isn't that fast, but it's a big improvement over the stock Amiga when it comes to loading images into the paint program. A really good deal right now is from Great Valley Products. Their 40 megahertz model is really one of the better buys going. Now we're going to jump to the spare page that's in the paint program by hitting J. And now we have room to put another image in this screen, and again we'll go to the picture mode, holding down the right mouse button to the load frame feature. And this time I want to load that close-up shot of the JVC JX300, and we'll be combining these two images. I'm going to jump ahead now and let this load. Now that that's loaded in, I want to hit the J key on the keyboard, and that'll jump us over to the other image that we have loaded. Now I want to add kind of a brown wash to this background, so I'm going to choose this brown color here and tap both sides of this, and let's go into transparency and drag these sliders down to about the middle, and go back to the paint palette again and see what this looks like by holding the left mouse button down. Yeah, that'll darken it just about the way we want. So now hit the W key, and that will wash the image with that color. Now we'll go back into the transparency feature, and we're going to put that back up to the top so that we can perform some other functions now. Now let's hit the J key and jump back to the other page, and let's say we want to move just this center section over to the other screen. So what we want to do is hit the filled polygon tool here and do some drawing so that we can cut this image out. I want to use rub through for this measure, so hit the right mouse button, go into mode and choose rub through, and now we can go ahead and proceed to cut this image out. Hold down the left mouse button and draw a straight line if you can, and hit the left mouse button again, draw down a straight line, hit the left mouse button again, and over. I want to end up pretty much over here even with that line, so hit the left mouse button again. And now what we can do is go ahead and hit the right mouse button and as you will see, we get a rub through from the image in the other page. Since this is backwards from our intended result, we want to hit undo, hit J to jump to the other page, and hit A for again. And that'll draw that image onto this page now. Now let's have some fun with this. Tap the right mouse button, and I want to cut this image out and move it as a brush. So we'll go back to the normal mode. I want to cut out one of these YC connectors, so let's choose this circle tool here, and all we do is draw right from the middle out and drag your mouse button out, and that will help us cut out the little YC connector, and then we can take and move it around. I want to hit undo, try that one more time. Actually, I'll go down here and hit the scissors again and put that dot right in the center and drag out. Okay. Now let's say we want to add a couple of more YC inputs to this unit, so we'll just come out here and we'll stick one there, bump the left mouse button and stamp it down. And let's stick one over here. Hit the left mouse button and punch it down. I wonder how JVC would like it if they knew we were changing their equipment configuration around. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like now by hitting the F10 key and rendering that out. And there's what our image looks like so far. Now let's take that combined image and add some character generation to it. First, let's add some graphics by hitting the left mouse button on this rectangle feature, and let's say we want to add kind of a brown stripe to the top of the picture. Now let's go into the transparency mode again, and we'll move this slider, this right slider, down into this area, and move the left slider to approximately right here. Now we need to change our mode back to normal. We need to get rid of the scissors by tapping one of these tools over here with the left mouse button. And now we can go up here and experiment and see what this rectangle will look like by using the left mouse button and dragging over. That is not quite what I want to do, so I'll hit undo, get back down to this transparency, and I think what we'll do is drag the hotspot to a different place. So we'll hit that button there and drag this over to here. Back to the tool screen and try it again. See what this looks like. That's more of the idea that we wanted to get. We'll undo that and get ready to stamp this down onto the screen. We'll bump clear over to the left side and hit the left mouse button, drag down a little bit, and then we're going to go clear across to the other side all the way until it hits, and then we'll let go. Let that fill in. And there's the look that we achieved with that. Let's hit F10 and render that out to the page and see what we've got. That's the effect that we want, but I can see a mistake I made just to the left of the JSX 300 image. We have a little bit of paint that was spilled on there, so to speak. So let's go back to the paint program screen, and we'll just take care of that right now. All we have to do is get down and grab a brush and kind of cut an image out similar to the mistake that we made, bring over part of the good image, stamp it down on top of that with the left mouse button, and there we've pretty much taken care of that mistake that we made. Let's explore some other tools that we can use to help us out. There's one nice one down here called Blur, which can cover up some deficiencies in the transfer process. For example, when we hit Blur, we can smooth out some lines if they need be. Choose a little bigger tool there. And we can just paint over that, and it just kind of blurs the image out a little bit to smooth rough lines out if there are some you want to get rid of. And that can come in handy. Let's say if you have a rough edge that you want to get rid of like this, just kind of smooth it in a little bit. And the more you do it, the more it blurs in. Right now let's go back to the switcher screen, I want to show you something that'll make the next step a little easier. If you hit the help button from here, we'll switch to the 2-monitor mode, which gives us kind of an overlay with your preview monitor and your program screen. This is going to come in handy when we do this next function. First hit F1 and then F4 to make it a frame store page. Then we'll hit Alt and F3 to go in and choose our background. Then hit F2 and choose the symbol for the paint background. Then hit Return and update the page. Then hit F9, which will allow us to render out what we have stored in the paint program. That way it'll make it easier to type on this with the character generator and see exactly where we need to place the characters. Once that's fully rendered out, we can go ahead and see exactly where we want to make this placement, and we'll choose a font style here. I'd like to go with one of the Chroma fonts, that Chroma Bronze, which is one of my favorite ones, and the brown should go well with the gold. Let's call this the JVC JX 300 page. And down here, of course, since we modified it, we're going to say it's modified. And change that to just a smaller scripted font. Maybe put that in parentheses. And we'll make the color white on that. Oops, that dropped out our frame store background, but that should make it the way we want it. So let's go ahead and render that out. We'll go back to Switcher, drag down to our page that says JVC JX300 and render it out. And there we have it. The only thing I don't like about this is the panel down below could have been placed to the left just a bit. I'm going to show you now a method of mixing images without using rub-through, where we can position things around a little bit better. I have this image captured in the freeze frame of the TBC, and what I want to do is go ahead and stick that into the frame store area, and I'll just go ahead and run that in here and give it a name. Hit Return and double click on the frame save area, and I've saved 4 fields of it for the best possible quality. Now let's look for the next frame I want to save. It's fun to mix these images because you have a lot of possibilities pasting and cutting different things from different scenes. Let's go ahead and freeze, find one without too much motion, try to get a full frame freeze on the TBC. There's a good one. She's got a kind of devious look in her eye, like she's really going to smash him with that cake. And we'll take and mix the candle over to this image now. But first we'll load this into the frame store area. Don't forget to unfreeze the old image out of there and then put the new one in. And now I'll hit the DV1 button, hit the freeze, and now I've got that captured in the frame buffer area. I'll just show you that indeed it's in there. And now we'll double click on the frame store. We'll save 4 fields for the best quality. Now we can go back into the paint program after that loads, and now we'll want to call them back up out of the frame store hard drive area with the load frame feature. And we'll get down here and choose those images that we just put in here. I know it's a little bit of a long process, but it'll be worth it. Go ahead and hit frame store cake out of there. That'll load for us, and then we'll hit J for jump and load that other candle image. Now hit jump, hold down the right mouse button, go in and slide over to the load frame area. Get down and look for candle. There it is. Now what we're going to do is cut out the candle, and we'll move it to the other frame and stamp it down wherever we want it, maybe in a couple of different places. Now that that's loaded in, we want to hit the smallest brush here, hit the polygon tool, and hit the scissors so we can cut an image out. I just want to practice over here real quick to make sure we indeed have the right setting. Then I'll hit the right mouse button, see if that picks up. Yes, that works fine. Okay, go back down and hit the scissors again with the left mouse button and reset. And we'll go ahead and just start right here, hitting the left mouse button and drawing down a short distance, and just hitting the left mouse button, tracing our way along. And once we have a closed loop made, we can go ahead and hit the right mouse button. This all will get picked up then as a brush. Now all we do is hit jump, and we can now stamp this down really anywhere we want it on our other page. So I suppose we can put candles really anywhere we want them. Let's go ahead and just start stamping it down in a few places and see what this looks like. Again, stamping it down with the left mouse button. I'm sure there's lots more creative ways to marry these images together, but this is just one example. Oops, I've just covered up one of the other candles there when I did that. I'll hit undo, move that in a way, move it somewhere else. Okay, so we'll hit escape, go down here and go ahead and render this out and see what it looks like. And there we have it, the mixture of two images. Just a little example to show you the power of the paint program and the possibilities that are there for you. Let's go back into the paint program and take this a step further now. What we can do at this point is hit jump, and we can bring another image into this area of the paint program. Let's go ahead and load another frame. I have captured some other images around the house here, and one is bricks. So I'm going to go ahead and load that, and we'll see if we can move some bricks over to the other image. And there we have it loaded in. I've got to get rid of this candle, so I'll hit the scissors, and now I'm free to go ahead and get one of these bricks out. To make this a little easier, I'll hit this tool right here and just drag that the length of the brick down and over. And there I have that picked up pretty easy. Hit jump. And now we can, if we want, build a brick wall around the couple. Now this is getting to be a little bit ridiculous, but let's go ahead and see what this looks like. And there it is, the image rendered out. As you can see, we have very high quality transfer of images from one page to the next. Let's add some more bricks while we're at it. And one more thing I want to show you. Let's say we want to turn one of these bricks right side up so that we can fit it into a tight space. All we do is go down there and hit rotate and tell it to rotate it counterclockwise 90 degrees. And see what happens here. There we go. We got a brick going long ways, so we can put it in some of these tight spots up here. Hate to build too much of a wall between the couple, but this is for demonstration purposes. Now let's render that out and take a look. So once again, you can see the flexibility is there, and you can really do some interesting things with these capabilities. Let's go back to the switcher now, to the image that we still have stored over here in DV1, and look what we can do now when we mix that image with the new one that we've built in the Paint program. We can dissolve the new image in and out. We can use any one of the transitions to bring the new image in. And there you have it. Well, that's going to do it for this toaster tutorial. I hope that the examples that I've shown you will help you understand some of the capabilities that the toaster has. Now, let me say that I don't consider myself that much of a computer person. In fact, before I got this Amiga computer with the toaster installed, I never really had much computer experience at all. So don't let the fact that it's all computer-based technology discourage you. Granted, there is a bit of a learning curve, but once you start getting familiar with the toaster and its operations, it will really provide a lot of opportunities for you in extending your creative capabilities within the realm of video production. I think it's a good idea for those of us in video production to learn to use computers in our work, because all signs are pointing towards the future integration of more and more computers in video production. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I'm Brent Conrad. Thanks for joining me.
As you can see, the video effects in the Toaster 4000 blow away all the old dinosaur equipment. Left them all behind. But there's more to making television than cutting-edge effects. Like what? You need broadcast quality graphics. And Toaster 4000 delivers. Where do you start? Start with Toaster Paint to blend images together and create cool backgrounds. Neat. With Toaster Paint, retouching reality is a snap. I like easy. Then add titles to your creation in the new Toaster 4000 Character Generator. CG. Toaster CG has been rewritten from the ground up. Now, titling is as easy as choosing a font, typing in some text, and then putting it right where you need it. But don't stop there. Go ahead and play. Play with the shadows, borders, colors, or sizes, anywhere, anytime. Then jazz things up with 16 million color brushes from Lightwave or Toaster Paint. Toaster CG even has the power to make your titles and graphics as transparently clear as you'd like. Nice. In fact, Toaster CG has more than 100 new features. Like what? Take a look. What else is new? There's a new light wave that'll launch your videos into another dimension. Light years ahead. With more than 250 new features, it's now the most powerful 3D animation system in the world. You can create anything you can imagine with advanced tools, like spline patches, beveling, and 3D text from Postgres. The new Lightwave is full of stunning breakthroughs that'll give your animations amazing realism and lifelike enthusiasm. But this Lightwave is much more than radical new features. Now it's up to 10 times faster, and it's been completely redesigned to make 3D easier for everyone. So get ready to watch your animations spring to life and your flying logos soar like a good logo should. Pretty incredible, huh? Yeah. Hot new software and all new hardware. Better hardware? You bet. The redesigned Toaster 4000 has new custom chips that take advantage of a powerful new partner, the state-of-the-art Amiga 4000. Together, they add up to some awesome video power, from mind-blowing new kinds of effects to user-adjustable video timing and an even better Genlock encoder. All that, plus a stunning new breakthrough. You're now watching Toaster 4000 play back this 3D animation in real time without an expensive single-frame VCR. Well, that's incredible. So you can see why we say the Video Toaster 4000 is pushing the revolution to the next level. And I'm ready. Faster, better, and easier. Now the only limit is your imagination. Time to begin. So unleash your potential. Infiltrate the networks. Make money. Make a statement. And whatever kind of television you make it yours. With the Video Toaster 4000.